Hondo Naka, Hondo Naka, Hondo Naka, all of that's a lie.
He bought a ranch on Dathomir.
Say now, did he really?
Where he rides rancors with no fear.
All of that's a lie.
And then he took a trip to Tatooine.
Say now, did he really?
Where the Sarlacc fell right into him.
All of that's a lie. Hondo Naka, Hondo Naka, Hondo Naka, all of that's a lie.
Now is the time.
Forever?
Miss tomorrow.
Old.
A minute and a half.
Hashtag always MGM.
Step out to your right.
Old.
The
Drink.
secret staircase.
We always do that.
You are approaching the unloading area.
Behold the majesty of the Sistine Seal.
For the kids.
A salute to all theme parks, but mostly Walt Disney World.
What a cute ending.
Aloha and welcome aboard.
This is Theme Park Thursday with DIllo's Diz. She is Jen.
Hello.
And I am Frank. And the voice that you heard at the top of the podcast, we took a little twist this week. We had a little bit of a ditty.
A little change up.
A little change up, a little sea shanty, as it were. Sea shanties were trending big in the month of January and have carried over here, especially if you're in the TikTok land.
Right, like we are. We're in the TikTok land.
We're in the TikTok land at
big deal.
DIllo's Diz. And sea shanties were taken off. And I wish I understood. One, I wish I could sing. Two,
Not like Johnny Cash, you mean?
I wish I understood the programming that's involved in one performer being able to create multiple harmonies. The voice you heard at the top of the podcast was Rowan the Bard, a seasoned Renaissance Festival performer and a Central Florida native. His wife is a wonderful Walt Disney World performer, and he has started with Star Shanties. So we had Hondo Naka there at the top in honor of the pirate that theme park enthusiasts will know from Smuggler's Run, but you should know from Clone Wars and Rebels and the whole thing there. And we'll do a little Easter egg here with maybe an appearance after that Easter egg by a certain soon-to-be 5-year-old.
Oh.
Because after this episode, there will
Change in
be
the program.
correct a change in the program. The
Can't handle it.
4-year-old A will become the 5-year-old.
My goodness.
4-year-old B will become the 4-year-old.
Right. So then we will have the 6-year-old, the 5-year-old, the 4-year-old.
Correct.
Yeah.
And until June, when there will be another.
Okay. All right. We don't. I can't handle it.
Slow down.
Slow down, all of you.
So Rowan the Bard on Facebook. He has a TikTok as well, so make sure to check that out. But he's starting to rise up there on the Facebook, especially. Got a shout out for the song that will play at the end from author Timothy Zahn, who wrote the Thrawn trilogy, as it were. And that's a little spoiler of what song you may get there. Speaking of TikTok, speaking of singing, our good friend, we can call her a friend, right?
I mean, obviously.
Yeah. Our friend of the podcast, Genevieve Goings from Choo Soul, released a new album on Friday, February 5th. And she has blown up on TikTok.
But it's about time. I told her it's about time people found her because she was dipping her toe in. And then all of a sudden, they all found her.
And this week especially, I feel like she was trending.
Yes.
Every other tweet, I feel like, is somebody retweeting the little, I don't know what you call it, like the hand to the camera. What's that called?
I don't
Do the hand to the camera and you transform into
the TikTok trend. Yes. You do the transformation. Yes.
Is that what it is? It's the transformation? Is
sure.
that what we're calling it?
Yeah, we'll call it that. Yeah.
I mean, and then there's another TikTok video of hers that has like 3 million views.
Yes. Because she's Genevieve.
I know. And I'm so delighted because, the 2 times that she has been on our podcast, the first time we split with Magical Mommy Mondays there with you and Angela. And then this past time in November, beginning of December, like she is such an amazing person. And the positivity she has put out in the world has caught on here.
Yes.
And everyone is getting on board, and I love it. I love to see it. I hope everyone's buying the album. It's available now on the iTunes and all the other digital downloads.
It's because, TikTok, they got the young kids over there. I mean, us old folk are trying to get in, but they got the young kids, and all these kids grew up with her, and it's amazing. And so they are just like starstruck, I think, to have found her. And it's so funny to us knowing that, she's been doing so much over the years, but to them, they're like, hey, anyone know what happened to her? She's just been working and doing 1,000 projects at a time. I don't even know how she's had the time to do as much as she's had.
Yeah, it's really exciting to see. And, I mean, for me, because I'm much older, I've only really learned a lot more about Genevieve the past 10 months or so. I knew Choo Choo Soul, but it was a little bit out of my age range there. But now that I've known her and I've watched all the previous Choo Choo Souls with the soon-to-be 5-year-old, it's just so amazing to see, knowing what kind of person she is on the inside and out. And it's just really nice to see. It's nice to see good things happen to good people.
Yes. As we refer to her on this podcast, she is the light that comes onto this podcast.
Yeah, she is a light. Before we tackle the next subject, I want to take a sharp turn just briefly into the Disney Plus corner.
Oh, should we play the music?
Let's play the music.
Oh, okay.
Theme Park Thursday presents the Dillo's Disney Plus Corner.
So finally, it took me 3 weeks, I guess, to watch all of the Pixar popcorn shorts.
Yep.
Did you watch them the first day? When did you?
No. And I feel like when we did the Forever 44 Fedora Club, maybe Dr. Jacqueline had told me about the one for Soul, but I didn't get a chance to see it beforehand. So I feel like maybe not until a week after or so did I really get into them all. So it took me a bit.
So I think what I love about the compilation, especially if you just binge them all at once, what does it take you 30 minutes or whatever? It's just a reminder of just how, as if you forgot or you didn't know how great the Pixar franchise is, just as a whole. Yeah. And just to see any new material with these characters that they've created over the past 25 years, is always so great. But what I really liked in particular about these shorts was they were predominantly without dialogue. I mean, Ducky and Bunny had dialogue, but it was mostly just about the characters and how the characters, on an animated level, interacted with each other. And, I know watching with the soon-to-be 5-year-old, just what she was reacting to and how much the physical gags were, how she was responding to that. And with the music underneath, especially just listening to all those great scores from the different composers, both Newmans, Giacchino, John Batiste and Trent Reznor. And I think the Soul one was the Trent Reznor side of things. But listening to all of that music, it's amazing the worlds that they have created. And even for a non-Cars fan like me, I have to acknowledge the world of the Cars movies and what they were able to create. And it's just exemplified in these 1 minute, 2 minute shorts, whatever they were. I don't know. What do you think of them as a whole?
No, I agree with everything you're saying. And I think it's just an expansion of the world of Pixar. And I think it's so cool because I think without Disney Plus, we wouldn't be getting this. And I think it's great that they're able to expand on the worlds and they're able to pick out certain characters and kind of create these little side storylines. And in the same way as some of the shorts that are shown before Disney movies or the Pixar movies, and I'm completely blanking on a lot of the names of them, like Float and some of the others, that the kids are just drawn to them. And a lot of those movies don't have any dialogue and it is just music, but it's just telling this huge story and they are sucked into them. And I found that with these little 1 minute popcorners as well, as I'll call it, that they just got drawn into it as well. And it's recognizable characters. So they're even more on board with them. So I think it's so cool that because of Disney Plus, they're able to create so much more than they would have otherwise.
Yeah, the worlds, I mean, we keep coming back to the worlds of play. We talk about that a lot on the Forever 44 Fedora Club over on our YouTube channel. But here with just going through the shorts, and I watch anything with the Incredibles. You know, we've gone through Incredibles runs here where we're just watching the Incredibles over and over. But, you know, just seeing the short here, and I look at the design of the house and everything else, and I'm like, this is just 2 years before Mad Men. Would we really be into the design of Mad Men if it wasn't for the Incredibles? Like, these are the things that jump inside my head when I watch it, because I'm like, the design of this is so terrific. Yeah. But I know that 2 years later that I was like into Mad Men because of that world that was around them. And that's a lot of what Pixar has done here and has, you know, kind of been the inciting factor in a lot of television and movies that you see now, that where these worlds are so rich and with dynamic characters. It's a model that really they can't go wrong with. That's all I wanted to say about that. I know we're a little late to the party on the Pixar popcorn shorts. The almost 5-year-old loved all the little lamp introductions.
Oh yeah.
The various popcorn gags.
Yes.
So check it out. We'll close the door on the Disney Plus corner. All right. So we have technically an episode topic this week, which would be, in theory, the Walt Disney World Resort Hotel Pockets Part 2. We did Part 1 last week. Right. But right now we're going to talk about something here, and I don't know how long we're going to talk about it for. So I'm going to preemptively say here right now that maybe we won't get to Resort Hotel Pockets today. I hope we do. Promises. But if you listen to this podcast and you know us and you've listened and you've been with us for a while, you know us with the nostalgia and the history and you know, never letting go of things and things that are embedded in our souls, right? So, you know, we're all about the all new Mickey Mouse Club. Yes. You know, we're all about hashtag always MGM. So these two little facets here is how we're going to connect the dots to a topic that maybe we wouldn't normally bring up here on Theme Park Thursday with DIllo's Diz. Right. Both you and I last night separately watched the New York Times Presents /FX special Framing Britney Spears. About an hour and a half documentary, kind of just laying out her history and the situation she is currently in, having basically no control of her life because a judge ruled that her father, Jamie Spears, would be the conservator and be in charge of basically all the decisions she has to make. I'm going to pass it to you first to get the ball rolling, and then we'll thread in some of the theme park needles here and talk about, because there's other elements here of Britney's career I really want to talk about, because I think it connects to who we are in a way and the things we have liked over the years. So Jen, over to you.
I'm not even sure where to start. I mean, first of all, again, we are big all new Mickey Mouse Club fans. So obviously we remember Britney on the all new Mickey Mouse Club. She wasn't on those original seasons. She came a little later. She was on with Christina Aguilera and Justin Timberlake and I think Kerry Russell. I mean, she was in the Ryan Gosling.
Yeah.
It was a crazy cast. I was a Britney fan when Britney came out as a solo artist back in the late 90s when TRL was a thing, and I was towards the end of my high school career. Me and Brett are the same age. So, you know, we, you were a fan, don't lie, but we were fans. But you know, I was all about TRL. I'm not even going to pretend like I wasn't. I was all about TRL. I was all about watching the videos on the countdown, even though they were pretty much the same videos all the time. And they would go through their rotations. I would learn all the dances, whether I would do them in front of many people or just in a seat. But I knew all the dances. I knew all the words to the songs, all of it. So, you know, I was all in on Britney. Britney started dating Justin Timberlake, who was also a former Mickey Mouse Club member, who was in sync at the time. They were the big hot couple back then. You know, it was we were all in. It was like our own soap opera almost, of, pop culture. So I feel like being the same age as Britney and watching her along the way, I have been invested since the get-go. And I also did get to see her in concert. I believe it was 2007-ish, 2008 maybe, in Tampa. So, that was like, I can't believe I'm here. But
You're wearing your Britney shirt right now.
I'm wearing my Britney shirt right now, that I only just bought within the last year or so. So, yeah. So this documentary obviously was like, well, I need to watch it because there is a cousin DIllo of ours, our youngest cousin DIllo, who her and I have been keeping up to date with her Instagram here and there, and often share some like, I think there's something going on with Brit, and I think we need to save her. And because this youngest cousin of ours, when she was in 3rd grade and I was in college, I would take her to school every day. I would also watch her if she was homesick from school sometimes. And during those times, I would teach her the Pepsi commercial that Britney was in.
Oh, yeah.
My
Classic.
heart will skip a beat.
Oh, yeah.
And we learned that dance together. So, we've always been tied to Britney, her and I. But Britney has gone through a lot over the years. And most recently, there has been, especially with these Instagram posts, a big like, is she okay? Is she, if you don't know her as well, there are a lot of assumptions being made about her that aren't necessarily, nice. And you're just shaking it off as, oh, here's a celebrity. Maybe she's on drugs. Maybe she's doing this, whatever it is. And if you don't know much about her or her life, I think this documentary provided a really good insight to it all, especially if you were like, maybe hearing about some stuff here and there. I will say Mr. DIllo, obviously being married to me, knows about Britney, knows about the gossip that I fill him in on. That's how he gets his news, which he has said. But, never really like invested himself. And he watched the whole thing with me. And at the end, he's all about #free Britney. So we got him in. But this whole thing is so eye-opening. A lot of it was disgusting to watch. Like, it just kind of, I don't know. Okay, so I don't know where you want to really start with the content. Because I'm just rambling at this point.
That's okay. Because
I'm fangirling at this point.
Because your emotional investment is definitely greater than mine.
Yes.
And I'm happy to touch on that. Let's go back to TRL for a second.
Yeah.
And just talk about, because TRL went on the air September of 98, somewhere in there. And by the time I moved back from Florida, which was January of 2000, it was bananas.
Yeah.
And the atmosphere of Times Square was nothing like you've really ever seen before. You know, especially, you as a teenager, me as in mid-20s, that it was something new and exciting that all of these performers who were heavily featured on TRL were creating, and it was you could just tell that it was something new, and it was a creative direction that like what is happening, and in a good way, even and we'll get to one performer in a second who was a little edgier than the rest. The performers involved all gave off this very positive vibe, positive energy, positive spirit, seemed to be reflecting on the youth. And not that I'm like a goody two shoes over here, but it had such an energy that was different and exciting, and it was interactive. Again, coming back to the interactive thing that I love so well, that it made it from, must see viewing every day, even if you were watching the same 10 videos for weeks, and this basically, music videos never came back from after TRL. Like this is music videos last stand right here. But the groups involved were amazing. I want you right now to name the top 5 TRL music videos of all time as they were voted on the final episode. I will tell you, I'm just going to give you just do the top 5. I'll give you one hint as you start to think and formulate a little bit.
Yeah.
The 5 different artists.
Yeah.
Groups or individuals.
Okay.
They are the most recognized 5
okay.
during this era.
Okay.
Where do you want to? You don't have to pick them in order. If you want to try to go 5 to 1 or 1 to 5, you can. I'll be happy if you nail 3 of the 5 here.
All right, dude. And you want specific?
You can go. How about give me the artist first?
Okay, so we have Britney, Christina, NSYNC.
Yep.
Backstreet Boys.
Correct.
Is the 5th like an offset?
In comparison, and I might have given you a hint earlier.
So I would either say Eminem or Limp Bizkit.
Correct. Oh, Limp Bizkit's a good one, but Eminem is the 5th. Yeah.
Okay.
So then,
I think he was the first CD like I really bought with my own money, and it had explicit, stickers on it. Okay.
So you want to go with the songs? All right. I'm going to go from 5 to 1. Christina's at 5. Give me the song.
Genie in a Bottle.
No,
wow, really?
Yeah.
Dirty. Yes, it's my jam.
And I was surprised not to see What a Girl Wants.
Yeah.
In that, also. Number 4, NSYNC. Give me the song.
Bye, bye, bye.
100%.
Okay.
Backstreet Boys at number 3.
Everybody.
No, shocker.
Stronger than like. What is that? Is that Stronger Than Like? No,
it's the one that they use most frequently today.
What do they use most frequently today?
I want it then.
Tell me why.
Number 2, Eminem.
Slim Shady.
It's the real Slim Shady, so it's not
right.
It's not that one. It's the I'm the real Shady.
That's literally. I think that's the same song you're saying.
Is that the same song? I don't know. I actually, this list made me go, I'm gonna have to download some Eminem.
There's a Spotify playlist of TRL songs if you want to. Not that I ever play that as I'm like cleaning rooms of the house or anything.
I know what I'm doing tomorrow. And then the number 1 song, it's a Britney song.
Okay. Is it Crazy?
No.
Okay. Is it Oops?
No. Shocker.
What?
No.
So it's Baby One More Time.
Yeah. It's
all
the
right.
OG.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I say this as kind of the segue back into let's talk about the youth portion of it first, because you talked about there was a lot of cringeworthy stuff.
Yes.
There was a lot of things that made you wince and over time. So talking about Britney's youth, one of the things that came up prior to the all new Mickey Mouse Club was an appearance on Star Search. So, we as #AlwaysMGM loyalists, we loved anything that was production related that touched the soil of the Disney MGM studios. So whether we're talking about all new Mickey Mouse Club, Let's Make a Deal was there for a while, Regis and Kathy Lee always there, anything that kind of, did programming there, we were all about.
Yes.
So when The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson ended, and I'm a big, huge late night talk show fan. So Carson was the king for me, as a teenager in those last few years, the show was on the air. Star Search, not that I watched it, but Ed McMahon was basically ending with The Tonight Show and moving on to a more expansive Star Search.
Yeah.
So Star Search was going to film beginning in 1992, which is where we always corner all the things we talk about, everything, before 1992, after 1992, the year I graduated high school, for God's sake. Star Search was going to start filming there that summer. And it did it at least until 94 that they were still filming there. But it showed the interaction between Ed McMahon and Britney Spears. And which is what I'm assuming you're grimacing at right here. So
I mean, currently, yes, but there's a long list of things in the documentary. Yes.
So just maybe you can elaborate.
So, she sings where you see Britney's talent. That is the first time you see Britney's talent. You're introduced to Britney Spears. You understand how she made it to the Mickey Mouse Club and all of that. He interviews her after. One, I think he talks about how pretty her eyes are. Right. And then asks if she has a boyfriend, and she says no. And he's like, why not? And she's like, oh, well, all boys are, like mean and da-da. And he's like, oh, what about me? And it's just an uncomfortable conversation. If you are putting on your 2021 hat, we've learned a lot, and watching that back is gross. This is a little girl, and you are asking her about boyfriend. First of all, she's a little girl. I don't even know how old she was in that 92, so 10 maybe.
Yeah.
And you're asking her about boys, and you're asking, well, why don't you have a boyfriend? And what about me? It's just awkward, but it sets the tone.
It sets the tone. And I don't know anything about any accusations ever against Ed McMahon. So this is just how TV was.
Right.
It was old school, uncomfortable, awkward things that just happened because nobody
misogyny.
Knew about it. There's the word I'm looking for. Thank you very much. I might need your help with
it's my main topic of this whole thing.
Yes. And what I find amazing is that I think I read this after, I don't think it was said on the documentary, maybe it was, the kid who was against her in the competition, he was like, I walked out thinking there was no way I was going to win this competition. With her against her, and like he didn't understand at the end. Yeah, and I also thought that was an interesting thing. Was it the interaction with him that didn't make her win the competition? Oh. It just suddenly it clicked about that. But I will let you continue.
So it just, I feel like there is a ribbon, if you will, throughout this whole. I'm calling it a documentary. Is it an official documentary? I think so, right?
I think so, yeah.
Throughout the whole thing of misogyny, she is just surrounded by it. I mean, she's from a small town. She goes from Star Search, eventually landing the Mickey Mouse Club, which is huge. I mean, and that, I think, just did so much for so many of them. That whole cast we have talked about before, that whole cast is extremely talented. A lot of them did come from small towns. And I think being under the umbrella of Disney and the Mickey Mouse Club was great and a good place to be. And they learned a lot from it. And they were trained well, both on the Disney side of things. So almost as a public facing, a celebrity, if you will, and also with talent. So I think that was great. And then after the Mickey Mouse Club, she left and went home and went to high school and, all of that. And then wanted to see where things could go, basically, after all of that.
Right.
Then she has some meetings in New York and she ends up signing a record deal, which is how Britney Spears becomes Britney Spears. So she starts her career and she is immediately seen as what everyone does to young celebrities. You are the role model now. You're in the midst of the boy band, so you are the girl. You're standing out right now before Christina comes, before Jessica comes. They're coming, but they're not there yet. So she's the one out there. And I think it was hard to keep up in terms of you're the girl, so you have to prove yourself more because that's what women have to do, right? Anyway, so I think already go compete with the boys and you have to prove yourself. Also, make sure you are keeping a certain image because now you're a role model of the little girls. And I think I don't know how, if it was this pre her and Justin breakup. No, I think it was after the breakup. So I don't know how far we want to go in the timeline here. But
no, and I think and what we could touch on, there was a whole section about the Monica Lewinsky situation playing into a lot of how perception changed and how things changed for her. For her, but for everyone, really. And
Jay Leno's joke. Jay Leno's joke with like, who do you go for? Like Monica Lewinsky, or do you go for like the nice girl or whatever? It's like, and tying her into it. And it was just all during that time frame in the world where I think scandalous things were going on. And now here's this young little pop star, and we haven't seen someone like her in a very long time. And I think there was a lot to that. And so then when she's in the relationship with Justin, there's a lot about their relationship and what they're doing in their relationship. And if she's, staying pure and like all this kind of stuff, which is nobody's business. This is the thing too, is in 2021, can you imagine a 16 or 17-year-old girl, celebrity singer coming out and having interviews where you're talking about the size of your chest or what you're wearing or all these things. It's gross. And so,
there was the one part too, just to add, because I want to stay pre-Justin just for a second. There was the one part where, that she was like, I'm not a diva. I know what I want. I know what I want to do. And again, it's like so indicative of everything of you can't behave this way because you're this.
Yep.
And that is just, again, an indictment on everything going on to this day. And it's very hard to see because, for me, I was in my mid-20s. So when in 99, I was about to turn 25. So Hit Me Baby One More Time was kind of like, well, she's got some, she's talented, but I wasn't like a lot of other people because it was odd. And, but definitely by the time you got to like Crazy and Oops, I Did It Again, and just to see the talent, like what she was doing, you could see her rising before everyone's eyes. So again, like to see that behind the scenes for me, because how she just came back and was like, no, this is how I am. I'm this strong. And I know what I want. Like you could see that Britney in the Crazy video, in the Oops video, like just owning it.
Yes.
And so that's what kills me a little bit. And we'll get to where I kind of drifted off with her. But the boundaries and the perceptions that are created because of, oh, this is how it's supposed to be, and this is how you're supposed to act, and this is how you're supposed to behave. It was really, really hard to watch. Like that really struck me of like, oh yeah, she's not a diva. She's just she knows what works,
what she wants,
and she knows what her audience wants.
Yes,
and
exactly.
Again, it's a shame.
Yeah, and I think it was great that one of her backup dancers was being interviewed and saying the same thing. Like she knew what she wanted and she went after it. She wasn't just sitting back and letting people do things for her. And if you see an earlier interview with her, she did say that, I'm involved in all the paperwork. I'm involved in all the contracts. I see what's going on. I say what I want to happen in my shows, because if you don't, you can get basically controlled by the wrong people. And to basically have that foreshadowing of her saying that, and then what continues to happen throughout, the rest is, it's like so sad. So I know that a lot of people at this point are basically trying to cancel Justin Timberlake because of everything. And so they're together, they break up. So for the people who are trying to cancel Justin, another former Mouseketeer, they feel like, hey, you just made your solo career off of shaming her for what you allegedly say happens. And I don't know if it happened or not. And I'm not even, whatever. Yeah. That doesn't matter. And, he has interviews, and I can remember an interview that was not in this documentary with him and Barbara Walters, where Barbara Walters straight up asks him if, this is a PG show, guys, so if they did things, or if she is still as pure as she says she is, and he kind of takes a drink of water and goes, sure, into the camera, all sarcastically. And then during this documentary, you hear him in another interview saying, oh yeah, they did things, whatever. Now, you can completely get upset with Justin about that. I get that side of it. And I'm not saying it's not warranted. I think also you can play the side of, look at the time we're in, which, by the way, does not seem that long ago. It's only 20 years we're talking about here. And so much has changed in these last 20 years. But it's crazy to me to think of how things were still back then, and how people were looked at, and how people were treated, and what assumptions were being made, and the misogyny going on. So here's also a young guy. What were they, 21 or something when they broke up? I mean, so if you think of a 21-year-old kid, he's saying things he shouldn't be saying. I'm not dismissing. He should have known better because he's still in the public eye. But whether he gets canceled after all this, I think the misogyny continues.
Yeah. And I mean, just to add on that too, is, the other big thing that happened during this time with Justin Timberlake was the Janet Jackson Super Bowl halftime situation, which all the blame went to her. None of the blame really went to him. He went on with his career. He does whatever he wants to do now, which he's has the money to do.
Mm-hmm.
With the Janet thing, especially, it's interesting to me to see that, because obviously the halftime show was such a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
But now coupled with revisiting this,
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, this is an interesting 5 years here.
Oh, absolutely. And then they show the Diane Sawyer interview
Mhm.
where Diane Sawyer, your interviews are now coming out everywhere because it's not just Britney.
Right.
And the misogyny continues, basically. So first of all, she plays this clip from, who was that woman? A mayor? I don't even know who she was. She was somebody. And basically, because Britney had broken up with Justin, allegedly cheating on Justin, plus is now wearing clothing that's, showing more skin and all of that. Everyone's painting Britney now a certain way. They're starting to paint her a certain way. They're starting to make her more of the bad guy, all of this. Mm-hmm. And this mayor, or whoever she was basically saying, like, if I had a bullet, I wish I could shoot her, or whatever the phrasing was. I don't even care. It was disgusting. Mm-hmm. And she was like, wow, that's so sad, Britney. Wow, that's so sad. Diane Sawyer says, well, because of how hard it is to raise kids now, and like backing up, basically
supporting
what she's saying.
Supporting the statement. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Gross. Like, well, that's sad. And that shouldn't be, and it's like mind blowing that you have this girl, again, Britney at this point, probably around 21-ish, and is being told, because you may have cheated on your boyfriend and you're wearing clothing that's showing more skin, this mayor wishes she could shoot you because, she's raising a daughter and she doesn't want her to look up to you anymore. Yeah. What?
Yeah. And to me, it comes off a little bit of, and I don't know if I thought it back then about Britney at all, but it comes across as, we're able to go after her because she's too nice and she's too strong. Yes. She's too independent in her thinking. And that really spoke to me in all the stuff with the paparazzi. And the idea of, you see her in the earlier footage of the paparazzi, like happy to smile and trying to be engaged, not causing any issues. And then to see the change after that. And, I was reading on BuzzFeed, you can get up to $1 million for a picture of Britney, blah, blah, all of that. But it was like, let's go after her because she's strong and independent and and young. It was, and that's what all these little interviews and the joke, I feel like it was just attacking that part of her. Because just to go back to the beginning of what I was saying, of like all these performers on TRL were a positive force on different elements of youth. And absolutely. You can agree with, disagree, whatever, I don't care, but they were speaking to a portion of a youthful audience that needed to hear what was being said. Yes. That sung, spoken, visually appearing, however you want to discuss it. But they were speaking, those 5 artists, Christina, Britney, NSYNC, Backstreet Boys, Eminem, all had a different portion of the audience that they were connecting with. And that's what made that time so artistically interesting. Yeah,
it's like our version of American Bandstand. That was what it was for us, because it got kids involved. It was, for us, it was in our backyard. It was like, oh my God, this is in the city. Look, you can stand right outside the window and you can see all these people. This is amazing. Yes. To follow up on your point of being too nice and all of that, and the paparazzi, that one paparazzi guy in this documentary who starts in the beginning, because he says some more later on, but in the beginning, he's saying how, she liked it. She liked the paparazzi. She didn't, what? Misogyny. What part of this is she liking? Because she's not causing an issue, because she's not yelling at you, because she's not saying anything against you. But she's at a drive-in trying to get some food, and y'all are just surrounding her car. Yeah. Do you think in that moment she's like, oh man, I love this? This is the whole paparazzi argument that's been going on for years. Oh, well, these are celebrities. This is what they signed up for. No, it is not. I guarantee you that when people are young and dreaming about being an actor, an actress, a singer, never once do they go, I hope that when I'm leaving a coffee shop someday, I just have flashes of light in my eyes. Right. And I hope I'm on vacation with my kids someday, and there's just paparazzi with big lenses looking at me. No one dreams about that. That's not what this is. Anyway.
Yeah, no, and I mean, I just want to back up what I said of like her seemingly engaging and being, like accepting what was happening.
Yes.
That she was accepting it and letting it happen, but she wasn't being confrontational. I just kind of want to, I want to say that out loud. Yeah, because he definitely came across like somebody who, where people accuse others of things. I was like, oh no, they were into it. They just wanted it to happen. Like, ew, gross that I am making that parallel connection.
Exactly what I did as well. This is it. This is exactly what some people think. Oh, well, she liked it. Why? Because she's not. And if she wasn't, and if she said, get out of my face, you'd be like, whoa, what's your problem? Mm-hmm. Whoa, why are you,
And then it was like, well, she did say the words that you wanted her to say. He was like, well, it was just one time. It didn't mean forever. I was like, ooh, you just hit the mic on that one. Yeah,
I know.
No,
sorry,
I was
sorry.
like, okay, God, and yeah, I think.
Well, she said it for that day. She didn't say it for like.
So yeah, I mean, just to for me.
Yep.
It was very hard for me again because. And maybe it's just because coming back to New York, it was like a culture shock for me. Mm-hmm. So this, seeing how the TRL world was kind of like my focus of like, seeing what creatively was happening. Yeah. That when she started with Kevin Federline and during the process of the marriage and the kids and everything else, like I struggled as me, Frank, with seeing someone who was at the peak, at the height, not make the best choices. I never like that. I don't like that in fictional land. I don't like that in real world land. That if you make a really bad choice, that's really going to affect how you live the rest of your life. Like I just I got to get away from this. And that was definitely with, seeing Britney make those choices. I was like, what is happening? I can't watch it.
And I think, she was so nice. She was so strong. She knew what she wanted. She knew it was good. She knew who she was. And then just everywhere she went, she's being painted as someone that she's not. And when you continue to hear that and you're continuing to go through those interviews where people are just women are saying these things to her that are disgusting. You keep getting pushed. So now you go to more of a bad boy. It's like he was like the bad boy rebound, except he became her husband and father of her children. and it was absolutely the turning point, because then that's when everything starts to unravel is after all of this. And because they start moving further apart from each other, what they say, a few weeks after the second. I mean, she got married quick. The first kid came quick. A year later, the second kid. A few weeks later, her and Kevin are split. So there's a lot happening in 2 or 3 years here. And no one thought at that time, hey, what's going on with Britney? Maybe we get her some help. Maybe she's going through postpartum. Maybe she's, has too much on her plate and she's trying to take it all on. And it's just she's starting to implode a little bit. Maybe we need to check in with her. No one's doing that. And instead, she just keeps getting pushed now more. Now she's being judged as a mother. Now she's someone's ex-wife. Now she's, she's doing all these things. Now she's getting put on. I don't know what came first. Did the umbrella incident come first, or did the conservatorship come first? I don't even know.
But let me just add, and then you see the Matt Lauer interview, and you're like, oh my God, so many things happening that are not the right choice. Matt Lauer was not the right person, clearly, for this situation. And Matt I think, Lauer. That what you were seeing, because you touching on it a little bit with, she wanted to be heard, and it was a slow silencing of her over these years, that there's nothing to suggest that the type of person that she was in interviews, if you look at the early 2000s, there's nothing to suggest that the person that was being painted in the mid 2000s, Like suddenly something switched, something,
Right.
she was a different person entirely altogether all of a sudden. No.
Right.
And that is just so hard to, and then you have Matt Lauer, saying, well, like, what are these choices you're making to get, which people should you be sitting in front of? Why are you choosing Matt Lauer? Why?
Right. That's a whole other thing I could get into. And I think, at the time she shaves her head and everyone's like, man, Britney is going crazy. She's going nuts. Where she was probably shaving her head going like, I'm done being this person. I'm done. This is me. Mm-hmm. And she's doing all these things. She's acting out. And then so she tries to go see her kids. Kevin says no. She tries to go back again. He says no again. And this same paparazzi from earlier who's like, she liked this. She liked it. He's there with one other paparazzi and they're like, hey, Britney, we're just concerned about you. Like, it just makes me sick. And then he goes, listen, I know you're going through a lot. I'm just going to ask you a couple of questions. Okay. Like, first of all, who are you? What, like, and at this moment, oh yeah, you care about me. You care, like, get out of my face. And that's when the umbrella incident happens, where she takes out this umbrella. By the way, she only made these small dents in his car. That's all she ended up doing. Mm-hmm. Good God. I think if I was Britney at that point, I'm smashing windows. Right. I'm probably hurting him. I don't know what I'm doing. But the fact that she was able to keep herself in check to only make a couple of dents in that car, impressive to me because of who she had in front of him. But, all this unraveling that she's doing because she's just crying for help and no one's helping her. Then she starts getting admitted, not her choice. She gets put under the conservatorship, and basically her life is just never the same again. It's never the same.
One of the things the documentary did that really made me go, was point out, as you see her Instagram evolve, and they had the Britney Graham podcasters as interwoven throughout the documentary, was point out how social media kind of helped reduce the paparazzi factor in that you get to, Instagram especially would let you show who you really are more regularly than just seeing these kind of, edited clips or what have you. Right. I guess I never really thought of it that way. And maybe that's why you don't see as many crazy paparazzi stories anymore. Yeah. Because of the emergence of Instagram, especially, Instagram especially. Yeah.
And I think because she had a comeback, and before she makes the comeback, they kind of show this slew of all the talk shows just making jokes about her. And you see a Family Feud. What are the top 5 things Britney has lost? Like her mind. Oh, it's number 3. I'm like, this is disgusting, because still at this point, you are talking about someone, what was she, 25 maybe at this point by the time all this stuff. So all these things, and most of the things have happened in the last 5 years maybe to her. Think of like a 25-year-old right now. I mean, and you to see how much she had gone through in that short amount of time and how young she was, and everyone just tearing her apart every which way.
Well, and there's so many things that don't make sense. And especially with the conservatorship, with the judge telling the lawyer, I have the medical report. You can't see it. What? How is that? How is that even a thing that we continue to allow to happen all of these years later? It's 12 years. It was 2008 and it's 2020 with this filming of this documentary. And we still cannot figure this out. Like what else is going on that we're not seeing? Like, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense that the father has this hold over her when he wasn't even that involved in the beginning of her life, in their childhood. Right. Yeah, it boggles my mind.
He's nowhere to be found. I do believe her parents are divorced. They didn't mention when that happened, but I'm pretty sure it happened at some point. I mean, her family goes through a lot as well. So I feel like her family is probably going through so much. She's going through so much. Everyone's trying to then just capitalize on her. And that's when her dad comes back into the picture to capitalize. And he he's now over her for every decision she's making. She does have a comeback. I think that's when I saw the circus tour, and that's when I saw her in concert. But then, and she does the Vegas residency.
It's huge.
Yes, massive. And then it's like, then something happens again. And that's a lot of the missing piece. It's like something happened after that residency where then she was maybe going to go back again, and then her dad got sick, and then, all this stuff. But there is that one lawyer who I think you're talking about who wanted to represent her, and they said no. And I really want him representing her because he seems like none of this is making sense. And they're saying she's able to make decisions. And these types of holds are for people who have dementia or are too old to take care of themselves or whatever it is. This is not for young people that have control over what they're saying and doing.
Right. And then the people on the other side who, when she starts making money off the Vegas residency again, are trying to use the conservatorship as a way to make more money. And I think they called it a new business model.
Yes.
And that is wild too. But for me, I just want to say, like, 10 years ago, like right around now, the two main front runners for Best Picture at the Oscars was The King's Speech and The Social Network. And I would fight anybody who would debate me about who wanted the Social Network to be Best Picture. And I'm like, no, because The King's Speech is a movie that we should be living by. And that's being supportive and helping people overcome whatever blocks are in their way versus the Social Network, which, granted, is a movie based on real life, but it made extraordinary, but it was a very negative movie. And Justin Timberlake was in it. And but The King's Speech was the movie that we should be aspiring to live our life by and to help others by, and to see this, and just kind of to see this breakdown now over 20 years is, I mean, hashtag free Britney. I mean, and I'll leave it at that. I'll let you close this portion out.
Oh my goodness. So, I mean, I think my ribbon of misogyny goes from starting at the young age, having Ed McMahon interview her, asking her these questions that she shouldn't be asked, going through her life, being painted as this cheater and scandalous person that's no longer a role model to young girls, to women and men interviewing her, saying things to her, to the paparazzi saying she liked it and this, and just then having her father have control over everything, and these lawyers sitting in a room making all her decisions for her, to Sam Lefty, who I was never a fan of. These recent Instagram posts of hers, she does not look like, you see the comeback Britney had. Why? What are these posts, and how is she talking? And I feel like she's just once again in a place where she needs help, and no one is helping her. And I think people get put in front of her. I know she's in a relationship now. I know she had been in a relationship before. I almost feel like she may have been engaged that had ended because I think of her father. And I just feel like she's just constantly with these people that are now surrounding her, which is the exact opposite of what she wanted when she was younger, when she said, if you don't have control over it, then you can get, involved with the people who don't want the right things for you. And it kind of, see her brother at the end, who is being interviewed, who you can tell is another one. It's another misogynistic person in her life who, they say, do you think she wants to get out? Do you think she wants, to be on her own? He's like, oh, well, she always talks about that. But I mean, how realistic is that?
Yeah.
For her? Like
the women in our family have always been very strong.
Yeah, all the women in our family are really strong and confident. And the guy was like, well, that's not a bad thing. No, of course. I mean, they have every right. Oh, women have rights to be strong and say what they want. But to then say, well, how realistic is it that she actually wants to get out of all this? Probably really realistic. Just like paparazzi, she doesn't like it just because she's not being confrontational with you. But the whole thing is just so sad because she has so much potential and could be doing so much more and has had such an effect on people in our generation. And now there's things happening that no one knows about, and who knows when they'll know about. And even her ex-assistant, who we didn't even cover here, but I would love to talk about her, but said, I know she'll be able to tell her story one day, and we'll, be able to hear her side of everything. And I hope that happens, because I think there's just so much more to all of this that we don't know. And really, this whole documentary went, no, there's a lot we don't know.
I would hope that Britney gets the rightful end to her story that she deserves because of the superstar that she was. Whether you talk about tragic entertainers over the years, and I would hope that that will not be the case here.
Yeah, no, I agree. I just #free Britney.
Okay, so clearly we're not getting to Resort Pockets Part 2 on this episode of Theme Park Thursday with DIllo's Diz. I want to add that normally we play it very safe here and don't give strong opinions. And, from when we record this episode to when it drops, we will be questioning our lives about whether we should have given strong opinions. But we're really... this really struck a nerve, a chord, everything with both of us. And it really made me think about my own perception of Britney Spears the last 20 years and where she was, especially at that peak. And kind of to see it laid out in this timeline was interesting for sure.
Yeah. And I don't think, even though I remained a Britney fan, I didn't know as much as I do now. And there's still so much that we don't. And it definitely gave you another look, because when we're just enjoying TRL or enjoying the music, I'm not even thinking about all those interviews. And even though I remember them, I remember seeing them, but again, we're all in a time where a lot of it was just normal. Oh, sure, that's what people ask, and that's how people talk. And there's just so much that was so inappropriate and so unnecessary. And the things that were said to her and the way she was treated and the things that happened just shouldn't have happened.
100%. 100%. So thank you so much for listening to this episode. We are back next week with another podcast episode of Theme Park Thursday with DIllo's Diz. Tonight, though, if you're listening on this Thursday, February the 11th, over at DIllosDizResort.com, and you are staying on the balcony level, we are doing our first exclusive live stream at Theme Park Thursday, the Birnbaum Chronicles, where we take the classic Steve Birnbaum travel guide to Walt Disney World. Jen holds the 1990 guide in her hand. I hold the 2020 guide in my hand, and we compare and contrast what the guide talks about. We will talk about everything in between. We have landed on the first attraction to be discussed on the Birnbaum Chronicles, and we will be discussing Spaceship Earth. So Jen will have 1990 Spaceship Earth. I will have 2020 Spaceship Earth, and we will talk about those two guides and everything in between. Any initial thoughts on the Birnbaum Chronicles?
No, I'm intrigued to see what changes have happened that I don't even remember. So I'm going to read up.
So that's over at DIllosDizResort.com on the balcony level. Check it out. We have levels beginning at $1 per month that you can join and be a guest at DIllosDizResort.com. Also this month on the 25th, we will be doing our second sibling reunion with Angela Dahlgren. So make sure she checks that on the Magical Mommy Mondays podcast. She teased, she hinted, she mentioned some news in her life that we will all be chomping at the bit for.
Mm-hmm.
Will she reveal it on the Dillo sibling reunion, or you think she'll save that for Magical Mommy Mondays?
Hard to say. To say. We'll see what we can get out of her.
Yeah. Is that going to be over on her YouTube channel as well? Can we stream the Dillo
we
sibling
might
reunion?
have an announcement about her YouTube channel. Maybe we can announce that on our sibling reunion.
Fascinating. There's a teaser for February the 25th.
That's right.
The Dillo sibling reunion with Angela Dahlgren over on youtube.com/DillosDiz, where you'll also find the Parks and Monorail's most magical hour every Tuesday night at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's us. It's the Morning Monorail crew. Join us, won't you, along the way. Until that time, she's Jen, and I'm Frank. Bye-bye.
Deuces.
Theme Park Thursday with DIllo's Diz, featuring Frank Cardillo and Jen Cardillo Snyder. The theme was composed by Matt Harvey. The intro and the outro was performed by Lindsay Zarugian. The DIllo's Diz fact checker is Mel Dell. You can follow DIllo's Diz on Twitter, on Instagram, and on TikTok at DIllo's Diz, DIllo's with an S, Diz with a Z. You can like DIllo's Diz on Facebook, facebook.com/DIllo's Diz. It's also there. You'll find the Forever 44 Fedora Club. Join the Facebook group. You can also subscribe to DIllo's Diz on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/DIllo's Diz. That's where you'll find the Parks and Monorail's most magical hour every Tuesday night, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. DIllo's Diz, the Morning Monorail podcast, together indefinitely. You can also check in as a guest to the DIllo's Diz Resort. Go to DillowsDizResort.com to see our membership levels. DillowsDiz.com for more information. We'll see you real soon, and that real soon is next week for Theme Park Thursday with DIllo's Diz.
His battle plans are a work of art.
Stand your post and sing it loud.
As he tears the enemy ship apart.
Let's make the old man proud.
With a full TIE flight like a wave of death.
Stand your post and sing it loud.
And a turbo salvo like dragon's breath.
Let's make the old man proud. Fire the engines, chart the path. We're off to deliver the Empire's wrath. He's the brain and ours the brawn. We sail for Old Man Thrawn.
Fire the engine, shut the path. We're off to deliver the Empire's wrath.
He's the brain and thou's the brawn.
Sail for Old Man Thrawn.
We sail
for Old Man Thrawn.
The Improviser's Guide Network, 2021.